Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 335 based on novel. So let's start. Flame Emperor watched what was happening hundreds of light years away, thinking that everything was under his control. Meanwhile, Luo Feng looked at the giant sand whirlpool that surrounded him. It was hundreds of miles high and the sand was thick and dense. Each individual grain was weak, but when numerous grains were combined, they were strong enough to make Luo Feng feel strangled. "Mosha body," said Luo Feng, holding onto a stone in his left hand. The stone vanished in an instant. The giant sand whirlpool enshrouded Luo Feng. In an instant, he was smashed to pieces. The very next instant, he was strangled to death, reduced to naught. Human Blade River is dead. Dead. His true treasure is mine. Martial Knight exclaimed from afar. Martial Knight was overwhelmed with excitement, anticipating what he would have when he got hold of the true treasures. It had not occurred to him that the true treasures would not be so easily obtainable. There were at least 6 true treasures. Did he really think that obtaining them would be such a breeze? Ah! Martial Knight let out a high-pitched, ferocious roar. Where is my true treasure? The true treasures. Where are they? No matter how he scoured the sand, there was not a single true treasure to be found. In the distance, the figure of a youth in golden armor appeared. Demon Wing Leader and Frog the Wise both looked over. Luo Feng. Blade River Emperor Luo Feng. There he is. One moment, he was surrounded and attacked by countless grains of sand. The next moment, he is tens of thousands of miles away. Could it be teleportation? But within the confinement of sealed space, it is impossible to teleport. Martial Knight stared at the faraway Luo Feng in disbelief. Luo Feng had not died. Human Blade River, he growled. Die? Countless grains of sand from all around flew toward Luo Feng in a wicked flurry. Luo Feng vanished into thin air. Instantly, he reappeared tens of thousands of miles away. Luo Feng flashed about at a crazy speed. In the blink of an eye, he was already thousands of miles away. This is not teleportation, it is his talent technique, Frog the Wise said with a slight frown. It is a space-type talent technique, domain. We are in trouble. Demon Wing Leader curled his body and spread his wings, then turned back to look at the fuming Martial Knight. He sneered. Old Frog, out of the 3 of us, Martial Knight must be the most disappointed. Even with a domain-type true treasure, Luo Feng was still able to escape. With his talent technique, Luo Feng will be able to escape from anyone below the rank of a Universe Master. Only a handful of Universe Overlords may be able to hold him back. Frog the Wise nodded. Domain was a technique by which one first merged with space, then transformed into a godly body. No matter how Martial Knight manipulated his true treasure to launch attacks, the moment Luo Feng merged with space, it would be easy to dodge the attacks. Of course, the situation would be different if the opponent was a Universe Master. A Universe Master was able to fully control space and time. Everything in this space and time would be controlled. Even when merged with this space, anyone could be forcefully kicked out. However, Martial Knight, Frog the Wise, and Demon Wing Leader could not achieve this. Damn, roared Martial Knight. Watching Luo Feng make his escape with just one technique domain, yet being unable to do anything about it, was enough to make Martial Knight feel helpless. He could only roar with fury. Frog the Wise and Demon Wing Leader watched the entire episode with amusement. Martial Knight wheeled on them angrily. Neither of you got anything either. Martial Knight fumed. What is there to gloat over? Martial Knight, you are a Universe Overlord, and look at what a scene you have made, Frog the Wise said, grinning. Demon Wing Leader and I are not gloating. The 3 of us went after Blade River Emperor Luo Feng together, and both of us truly believed that you would be most hopeful in succeeding. We did not hold high hopes, and without expectations, we naturally would not feel disappointed. But you are different. You were so close to obtaining the true treasures, yet you did not expect Luo Feng to still have a hidden card up his sleeve. That is why a true treasure has again slipped through your fingers. This agony. Ha ha. We can empathize. Ha ha ha. Demon Wing Leader let out a deep laugh. Go, he called out. Old Frog. Frog the Wise nodded with a smile, then together with Demon Wing Leader, accelerated quickly and reached the speed of light within an instant. Both entered the dark universe and left. Damn it! Bastard! Idiot! Ah! Martial Knight shouted, his handsome features twisted with anger. Although Martial Knight was a high and mighty universe overlord, it did not mean he could not get angry. There were not many things that anger make beings at his level. This time, he was within reach of obtaining at least 6 true treasures like the Soul-type true treasure and Flying Palace true treasure, and for everything to come to naught all of a sudden, the contrast was too agonizing and infuriating for Martial Knight to bear. Blade River. Martial Knight gritted his teeth and let out an angry roar. Then he too entered the dark universe and left. Yangshan race had 3 palaces surrounded by land. In the main palace, Ba Feng Knight was careful not to utter a single word. At that moment, he knew Flame Emperor was seething with anger. Flame Emperor stared into space with a cold look. Ripples of images appeared to show Luo Feng's advances as he relied on his talent technique domain. Very well, my dear third brother. I have underestimated you, Flame Emperor thought, looking at the image with indifference. Flame Emperor, what should we do now? Ba Feng Knight finally spoke up after he sensed that Flame Emperor's anger had subsided. Do you have any way to kill him? Flame Emperor asked, looking at Ba Feng Knight. If he is bent on escaping, there is no way I can stop him, Ba Feng Knight said, shaking his head. This talent technique domain can only be owned by some unique life forms that have excellent hiding and fleeing skills. It is said that within the Mosha race, only a handful have such power. Although these life forms do not have outstanding fighting abilities, their survival abilities are quite strong. Wait, Flame Emperor said. He looked into space. Right now, there is a continuous stream of great beings of other races making their way here. There are universe overlords, senior universe knights, and more. Who knows? There might be someone able to stop this human Blade River Emperor. Ba Feng Knight listened obediently, but in his heart, he was confused. Is there a need for Flame Emperor to be so determined to kill this Blade River Emperor Luo Feng? If he really wanted to kill Luo Feng, he could have done the deed by himself. If he did so, he could have annihilated Blade River Emperor Luo Feng with a snap of fingers. Yet up until now, he made no move and merely paid close attention. So strange. In the Yangshan secret region, Luo Feng gave full play to his talent technique domain for quite some time, then he boarded his planet ship and continued to advance. Second brother, the moment you sealed the space and hid the dark universe coordinates, your younger brother guessed your intentions. Luo Feng held his wine glass. So earlier on, I arranged for a servant to take my many true treasures back to the human domain under the guise of my golden horned beast body. Original earthling body, Mosha body, and remote ocean body. From true treasure to valuable, these 3 bodies do not possess a single piece. Even if they were to fail, at the very most, I would only be wasting a little energy. Luo Feng sneered. He was no fool. Knowing that Flame Emperor would not give up the force armor easily, there was no way he would subject any of his true treasures like Tower Pearl and Shawu Wings to such risk. Upon learning that his golden horned beast body had brought his true treasures back to the human domain, he was able to face up to all obstacles without worries. During the earlier attack by Martial Knight's domain-type true treasure, his original earthling body was annihilated, but the Mosha body was able to escape with the World Ring. The remote ocean body was hidden within the World Ring, and with the godly power of the remote ocean body, the annihilated original earthling body was recovered to its original form. This time, I have revealed my greatest trump card for escape, talent technique domain. Luo Feng squinted. My teacher, Primal Chaos City Leader, once said that this technique domain is only second to the skills of universe masters. Otherwise, the chance of escaping is almost 100%. Now that I have revealed this technique, I must obtain force armor. Force armor, you will be mine. Luo Feng looked out into space and surmised that Flame Emperor would be observing his every move. What is mine will be mine, he said. No matter how hard you try, you cannot keep it. Luo Feng gave a crooked smile. Following the arrival of the earliest batch of universe overlords, the trio consisting of Demon Wing Leader, superpowers of all kinds like universe overlords and senior universe knights came flocking from faraway domains in a flurry. With techniques like God Country transportation and teleportation, they rushed to the territory of the Yangshan race as fast as they could. The number was increasing tremendously. Luo Feng had ventured deep within the domain of sealed space, so the other great beings were unable to keep up with him. So Flame Emperor shrank the domain of sealed space by another 100 light years. This way, the others in pursuit would be able to catch up with Luo Feng easily. Second brother, how shameless you can be, Luo Feng thought with a sneer. This time, Luo Feng showed no trace of hesitation. First, he teleported directly to the border of the domain of sealed space. Then, with his talent technique domain, he penetrated his way into the sealed space by speedy and continuous flashes. The moment the fastest great being of another race caught up, Luo Feng would have put a couple hundred miles between them. The talent technique domain was enough to convince several great beings in pursuit to give up, and when Luo Feng had penetrated into the deeper region of the sealed space, other great beings who arrived later would not even have the chance to fight him. A bunch of trash. Flame Emperor madly surveyed the images before him. At that moment, his rage was unleashed without restraint. The entire palace seemed to have fallen into a burning furnace. Ba Feng Knight stood by his side, filled with fear. He did not understand why Flame Emperor was fuming over the fact that Luo Feng was not killed. Flame Emperor swept a look in his direction. "Take your leave." "Yes," Ba Feng Knight said respectfully. Then, stepping into the blurry red light, he left. "Trash, trash, a bunch of trash." Flame Emperor seethed. He had not felt such anger in a long time. Ambushing Luo Feng had failed, which meant Luo Feng would be taking force armor away. This made him furious. "Third brother, take your time," Flame Emperor said coldly. "You still need over 100 years of flying to get here." He had shrunk the domain of sealed space twice. With the status of a high and mighty universe master, and with the matter implicating sitting mountain guest and force armor, he could not help losing his cool. Shrinking the sealed space twice in a row was, after all, a despicable thing to do. The original star is about to open, Flame Emperor thought. I shall enter the original star for a round of battle. Maybe I will be able to find a true treasure that is comparable to the force armor. However, he knew that the chances were extremely low. Flame Emperor had experienced many openings of the original star and had obtained quite a handful of true treasures. However, most of them were ordinary ones. Even the senior true treasures were few and far between, and there were no top-tier true treasures to speak of. Of course, through his ventures in other domains, killings, and fighting, he had paid dearly to be able to obtain a single top-tier true treasure, his black armor, as a backup plan. But black armor, when compared to force armor, the two were on completely different levels. Flame Emperor sat on his throne and looked into the vast space. Then he closed his eyes and silently waited for the original star to open. When it came to Luo Feng, he was at his wit's end. After all, sitting mountain guest was a deterrent preventing him from going overboard. Many supreme beings rushed to hunt Luo Feng. However, those who tried to hunt him all failed after Luo Feng performed his talent technique domain. As for those who arrived late, they couldn't even begin to chase him after him because he was already deep in the space-sealed area. They all gave up. Yet, at the same time, Luo Feng's secret technique domain went public. The great beings who chased Luo Feng all knew about it and spread the news. Many great beings of other races were stunned by the news that Blade River Emperor had such an exceptional skill. Pei Feng Knight was furious after learning about domain. He dared to look down on me. He didn't even perform that technique when I attacked him. He didn't even fight with all his strength. Well played, Blade River. Why did he dodge it again? Why is it so difficult for him to die? Bark Mirror Emperor was exasperated after realizing this. He roared so hard that the walls of his room cracked. While the other races were shocked, the human race was thrilled. The talent technique domain was bestowed by the universe and couldn't be gained by practice alone. Blade River Emperor will be able to survive for a long time with this technique. As long as he doesn't meet any universe masters, he'll be able to survive. Talent technique domain is indeed incredible, and many universe knights aren't able to deal with it. However, some still have extraordinary skills. For instance, the most powerful world tree is already able to control space and time as well as a universe master. There are other special life forms who can suppress the talent technique domain. Through the virtual universe, Luo Feng learned about the discussions outside, which made him further realize that the only way to win respect from other great beings was power. Many universe knights concluded that Luo Feng going to the original star meant he was rushing to his own death. After they witnessed him performing his talent technique domain, however, the number of naysayers declined in number. Domain is only used for escape, thought Luo Feng. In the original star, one must fight for true treasures. Fleeing is not enough. Force armor. I must have it. Compared to force armor, the talent technique domain was nothing. Force armor was an item desired by supreme beings like Flame Emperor. Even Primal Chaos City leader was willing to fight to the death for a true treasure like that. 10 years passed. At the top of Thunder Island stood Primal Chaos City leader Luo Feng. The original star will be open tomorrow. I heard that you're going, too? Yes, teacher, Luo Feng said, standing behind Primal Chaos City leader. What's your plan? Primal Chaos City leader asked. Who do you want to team up with? Did you invite some great beings? No, Luo Feng replied. If you want to team up with someone, I can help, Primal Chaos City leader said. You're still relatively weak. Senior Universe Knights often find some great beings to help them and give them a higher chance of survival. You should also find some suitable great beings to help you. Team up with whom? Luo Feng shook his head. Senior Universe Knights can't help me much. As for Universe Overlords, even if they say yes, it'll be because of you, and from the bottom of their hearts, they'll believe that I'm dragging them back. I'd better go there by myself. You're thinking of doing this, by yourself? Primal Chaos City leader was startled. I just want to go there to broaden my horizons, said Luo Feng. I'll be careful. That's right, you have your bloody sea. Primal Chaos City leader nodded. It's all in your hands. But, Luo Feng, why would you go to the lands of the Flame God race and perform your talent technique domain? A revealed trump card is no longer a trump card. If the enemies wish to attack you, they'll prepare for this technique. You need to make sure that it's the only option before you show your trump card. I understand, Luo Feng said. I decided to go there because of something private. Something private? Primal Chaos City leader glanced at Luo Feng. Then I won't ask any further questions. However, I must remind you that the lands of the Flame God race belong to Flame Emperor, who is one of the top-tier universe masters. He was as talented and exceptional as you. If you've done some research, you'll know that Flame Emperor is a human. He was beyond exceptional. He never failed, and nobody at his level could rival him. He never failed. And he respected nobody. He's a fearless great being. However, he also believed that nobody could suppress him, and he got too ambitious. He couldn't live with being under others. Primal Chaos City leader shook his head. Luo Feng listened quietly. Too ambitious and couldn't live with being under others. To top it all off, something's wrong with his mental state, said Primal Chaos City leader. He only remembers how others have wronged him. He cannot remember the good that others do for him. Primal Chaos City leader shook his head. After becoming a Universe Knight, he grew ever more arrogant and tyrannical. And he was extremely selfish. Extremely selfish, said Luo Feng. He dared to attack Universe Masters within his own race. Primal Chaos City leader exclaimed. He attacked them for their valuables. Gigantic Axe founder decided to punish him by imprisoning him, but little did he expect that Flame Emperor had betrayed us humans with beings from his hometown. It was a great joke to the rest of the universe. Luo Feng was startled. He's indeed a genius. Primal Chaos City leader exclaimed. And every time I see you, it's like seeing him. We human cultivated him, but he turned his back on us. Every time there was a war between the races, he grew crueler toward us humans. Chao City leader shook his head. Luo Feng, if he attacks you, just summon me, and I'll be there instantly. Okay. Luo Feng nodded. Luo Feng was stunned to realize what his second brother was really like. Selfish? Thought Luo Feng, recalling everything he had been through. Yeah. He's selfish, all right. Force armor was left by Master Swashanku to me, but he tried to keep it. On the second day, the original star opened. It was a massive party for the billions of races in the universe. Of course, the Undying Fighters didn't know of it, as it was a killing festival for the Supreme Beings. Though Luo Feng was in the territory of the Flame God race and couldn't see the opening of the portal to the original star, he could still watch the scene through the virtual universe. The power from the opening of each portal was more terrific than that of Universe Masters. Various groups flooded into the original star. 10,081 portals were distributed throughout the universe. Supreme beings from all the superpowers, made up of billions of races in the universe, flew into the portal and entered the original star. 10,081 original stars. The slaughter was about to begin. The universe takes care of me, said Flame Emperor. Force armor is about to be taken by my third brother, and I have to hand it over because of Master Swashanku. Perhaps I can get better true treasures. Flame Emperor walked into a portal to original stars and landed on one. The biological spaceship traveled through the mist. Luo Feng had a simple life, spending most of his time on space lore and the beast god path. Luo Feng had already fully comprehended the second mystery of space lore, seal, during the 80,000 years of creating ultimate techniques. As for the third one, strangle, he was close. One could become a universe knight after completing the comprehension of all three mysteries and combining them as one. Apparently, Luo Feng needed a long time. It's cruel in the original stars. Although Luo Feng didn't go, he watched some footage taken by some great beings who made it out. Original stars were closest to the land of origin in the universe. They were stars full of valuables. And they were filled with hazards. It was the first place Luo Feng knew of that couldn't connect to the virtual universe. My decision was a wise one, he said. Without the force armor, I can only flee with my power. To Luo Feng, he went through a peaceful 100 years, yet on the original stars, 12 large-scale battles took place because of the valuables. Hundreds of universe knights and more than 20 universe overlords died during those wars, but all the universe masters survived. Of course, all the superpowers were excited by the slaughtering. The more precious the valuables were, the more great beings they were willing to send out. The footage isn't even clear. Luo Feng shook his head. The level of the slaughter there is apocalyptic, and there's no way to record the battles clearly. Shame. None of the battles have anything to do with me. Luo Feng stood in the control room and watched the three lands in the distance through the virtual scene. They were the inhabitants of the flame god race. Although he finally saw the lands, he was still so distant from them. It took him another month to get to the border. A silver-armored undying warrior flew towards him. His eyes glinted furiously. This is the territory of the flame god race. How dare you come here, human? Luo Feng frowned. Godly force permeated from him, suppressing the undying fighter of flame god race. Flame Emperor! I've arrived at your territory. Luo Feng shouted, looking at the main palace surrounded by the three lands. Show yourself. What audacity, the undying Yangshan warrior shouted angrily. A long spear suddenly appeared in his palm, and he pointed its sharp tip at Luo Feng. Human, Flame Emperor is not someone at your beck and call. Flame Emperor was the absolute ruler of the Yangshan race, so even though Luo Feng displayed formidable power, this warrior was not intimidated enough to retreat. Luo Feng looked at the undying warrior. Though surrounded and oppressed by his power, the warrior was filled with fighting spirit. The moment his godly power dispersed, it would drown this undying warrior with its absolute power. Yet, the eyes of that undying warrior were so filled with anger that they looked as though they could spout fire. He did not give any further utterance. Luo Feng looked toward the main palace and said, Flame Emperor, even this lowly undying warrior has the guts to shout at me. Why are you in hiding? This is your sanctuary, where you can control the space and time. Don't you pretend you can't hear me. Finishing his words, Luo Feng waited in silence. Indeed, everyone knew that this was the home of the Yangshan race, where Flame Emperor possessed ultimate control. If he pretended to turn a deaf ear to Luo Feng's words, that would be him taking Luo Feng for a fool. Mere seconds later, a strong wave of godly power spurted out from the main palace in the distance and was followed by a complete closure of the sealed space. With a flash of light, a figure appeared directly before Luo Feng. Are you Luo Feng, the human Blade River Emperor? Asked a burly, single-horned man with a bald head. He wore black war armor and was approximately 30 feet tall. His body was plastered with scales resembling those of a snake. Even his face was covered with scales, leaving only his scalp bare and shiny. He was a universe knight of the Yangshan race. Luo Feng nodded. Yes, he said. I am Ice Deuteran Knight, the single-horned, bald knight said with a smile. Flame Emperor has instructed me to wait here for Blade River Emperor, and here you are, finally. The moment I learned of your arrival, I closed the sealed space meant to protect our race without delay. Luo Feng laughed to himself. Closed it? He knew the sealed space had been specially prepared for him. As the two conversed, the undying warrior who was oppressed by Luo Feng's godly power could not hear a single word. Ice Deuteran Knight gestured to him. Would Blade River Emperor be so kind as to release my fellow man? Ice Deuteran Knight asked. Luo Feng retracted his powers upon request. Ice Deuteran Knight turned to the undying warrior and commanded, take your leave quickly. Yes, Knight? The undying warrior gave a few respectful bows. Then, in an instant, he disappeared. Ice Deuteran Knight gave a smile and looked at Luo Feng. Blade River Emperor, please follow me. Luo Feng followed with a nod. He was not afraid of whatever tricks Flame Emperor had up his sleeves. While he was on his way here, he had met with all sorts of obstacles, and nothing had brought him down. Now that he had arrived at the territory of the Yangshan race, if Flame Emperor was unable to play nice, it would be an insult to Luo Feng, and an insult to their teacher, Sitting Mountain Guest. The duo teleported directly to the palace grounds. There were endless flames around the palaces, and they burned an empty path right in the middle. At the end of the path, several undying warriors of the Yangshan race stood deferentially on both sides. Luo Feng and a single-horned knight walked side by side. Where is Flame Emperor? Luo Feng asked. That is the main palace, the single-horned knight said, pointing to the highest palace in the distance. It is also where the Flame Emperor resides. The two other palaces on each side are the secondary palaces where common guests reside. Blade River Emperor, please proceed to the secondary palace hall. You may be granted an audience with Flame Emperor when he returns. Luo Feng changed his countenance. Buying time? Luo Feng stared at the single-horned knight. Is that what Flame Emperor instructed you to do? Did you convey the news of my arrival? Don't bother trying to tell me that there is no way you can inform him at present. Flame Emperor is the one and only universe master of the entire Yangshan race. He definitely would have caught wind of any news that spread to this area at any time. Don't get so anxious, Blade River Emperor. To his credit, the single-horned knight was not shaken by Luo Feng flaring up. I have just sent word to Flame Emperor. He is currently in the original star, so, to return from the original star, he could make use of God Country transportation, which will bring him here in no time. Luo Feng said with indifference, you lead the way. I will follow your arrangements for now and take a rest in the palace. I shall just wait to see when this Flame Emperor will turn up. Please follow me. The single-horned knight showed similar disregard for Luo Feng as he led the way in front. The two walked into the secondary palace hall. After instructing the servants to prepare a spread of delicacies, the single-horned knight left. A nobody. And with such arrogance, the single-horned knight growled once outside. He looked toward the palace. With much disdain, he mused, even though you are an undying life form, you only possess the powers of a secondary universe knight. At the very best, you excel at escape tactics. Who are you to show disrespect to our Flame Emperor? If not for Flame Emperor's command to not create trouble, I would have shown you the consequences for being disrespectful. Humph. With that, the single-horned knight turned and left. He could not be bothered with Luo Feng. In the secondary palace, a fine spread of delicacies from different locations throughout the universe was served. There was also a fine selection of wine. The food alone would have cost undying emperors their entire fortunes. This second brother of mine certainly puts on quite a show, Luo Feng thought, sitting at the table. Someone leaked the news about my whereabouts, and I am almost certain it was him who discreetly spread the news. He clearly knew I was coming, and yet he chose to delay our meeting. I am here by the orders of Sitting Mountain Guest, and I wield enough power to drive the force armor, which is why I am here for it. This is our teacher's command, yet he is putting on the airs of a universe master. Luo Feng could only shake his head. The force armor belonged to Luo Feng to begin with. Flame Emperor had been using it for a long time, and now that its rightful owner had appeared, he was in no rush to return it. On the contrary, it seemed he ordered his underlings to deal with Luo Feng so that he could hold onto force armor. I shall wait, Luo Feng said to himself. Now, to see how long I have to wait. This matter has already been blown out of proportion. The supreme beings in this universe are coming after my life. News has spread all over the place, and I am certain our teacher, Sitting Mountain Guest, must have known and is also paying close attention to everything happening here. Second brother, oh, second brother. With teacher keeping an eye on you, I would like to see how far you can go in this game. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days passed. Then 1 month. Then 2 months. And still, there was no news. Flame Emperor still had not arrived. More delays. He just continues delaying. Luo Feng closed his eyes and mediated while staying connected with the virtual universe with his consciousness. He waited in silence. This power was, after all, inferior to humans. He could only wait. Flame Emperor sat cross-legged in one of the ancient forests on the original star. He was attentively feeling for the waves coming from the distance, if precious valuables were about to appear, there would be unique signs to announce their presence. Third brother, he muttered, allow me to tame that arrogance of yours. An extraordinary genius from the human race? I was much stronger than you back then. I shall help you understand why a junior like yourself should respect someone with seniority. Luo Feng had already stayed in the palace for a year or more, and during this period, he had been waiting peacefully and patiently. One day, as Luo Feng was meditating cross-legged, he suddenly heard a loud noise. A powerful force dispersed over his surroundings, enshrouding the entire palace grounds. Every being within the palace grounds, from servants to undying warriors, rushed out immediately to bow their respect. Luo Feng also opened his eyes, then said, finally, you're here. The surrounding time and space changed. Luo Feng merely observed the transformation happening. Then he found himself in a spacious palace hall. On the throne of this palace sat a towering, lofty figure. He was densely covered with scales. With that gigantic horn, he was the very picture of the Yangshan race. His eyes looked down at the waiting Luo Feng, who felt an intangible power. It felt as if he had been cast into a burning furnace. Second brother, Luo Feng said, raising his head to meet Flame Emperor's eyes. He smiled. Second brother, you are finally here. I, your younger brother, have been waiting a long time. The towering figure stood up. Step by step, he made his way down the stairs. His godly body shrank as he moved, and by the time he reached the bottom of the stairs, he had reduced to a height comparable to that of Luo Feng. From an earthling's point of view, Flame Emperor carried an overbearing arrogance and ignored the presence of all others. This arrogance was in his bones, his very soul. It emanated from him naturally. There was no pretense at all. This was different from some other proud and arrogant great beings. Flame Emperor's arrogance and self-honor were so convincing that many people exclaimed that he was truly deserving to be their overlord. Third brother, Flame Emperor said, looking at Luo Feng with a trace of friendliness in his gaze. I was on the original star, fighting with countless other great beings from the other races for valuables. I met with a crucial moment when a valuable first appeared, so I was delayed for quite a while. I trust you did not take it to heart. Of course I didn't, Luo Feng replied. Flame Emperor nodded and said, I had a chat with Put. Our teacher, sitting mountain guest, has also given me some orders. As for you, I did gather some informative materials intentionally. You are certainly one in a million. An extraordinary genius from the human race. But you should know that everything you have today is because of teacher's faith in you. Do not be proud. Train humbly and become a universe knight as quickly as you can. Then move on to the status of a universe master. Your first brother and I are waiting for that day to arrive. Luo Feng gave a slight frown. He did not like this display of superiority that Flame Emperor was showing, but he dealt with the situation by replying, of course, I will work hard. Luck is with you. You can take on the life or death inheritance of the Star Tower to become Sitting Mountain Guest's third disciple. Flame Emperor looked at Luo Feng. That's why you should cherish this opportunity more than ever. Do not ever disappoint our teacher. Second brother, Luo Feng replied immediately, you must know my purpose in coming here. Ha ha. For the Force armor. Of course, I know. Flame Emperor smiled at Luo Feng. When it came to his third brother, Flame Emperor disliked him. It was purely by instinct. Sitting Mountain Guest had trained the young Flame Emperor wholeheartedly, which was why he had become one of the top-notched, transcendent geniuses of the universe. And now, Luo Feng was not the least bit inferior to him. Even Flame Emperor realized that in the future, this third brother would come to own the supreme true treasure, Star Tower. Thus, Flame Emperor saw Luo Feng as an immense threat. Yet Luo Feng was the third disciple Sitting Mountain Guest had dedicated himself to. There was no way Flame Emperor could put a stop to this. Big brother Put was the least of Flame Emperor's concern. He had previously been Sitting Mountain Guest's servant, so his powers were a far cry from those of Flame Emperor. But this third brother. He kept Flame Emperor on his toes. Right, said Luo Feng. Here I am for my Force armor. Our teacher instructed me to obtain it from you when I possessed the power to drive it. So now, here I am. Force armor is one of the super true treasures in this vast universe, Flame Emperor replied, gazing at Luo Feng. It has limitless power, and you have only just become undying. You are still too weak to unleash its power. You might even lose the Force armor if it were under your possession. The way I see it, for the sake of the Force armor, And for your own safety, my brother, you should continue cultivating your power. It is not too late for you to obtain the Force armor when you have become a Universe Knight. I shall gladly continue to take care of it for you, and when you have become a Universe Knight, I will deliver it straight into your hands. This video will end here.